Okay, so in this video, we're going to see how to create a MVC web application using Microsoft Entity Framework for the data access, and it's going to be a fully CRUD application, which means you're going to be able to create, read, and update and delete records. So let's see how that is done. So you're going to open up Visual Studio. I'm using Visual Studio 2017 here, but it's pretty much the same process in any other version from 2010, 2013, 2015 and onwards. So let's go to File and select New, File, New Project. And we're going to select the, you're going to go to your Visual C# on the left hand and then Web. And here you're going to have two options. You're going to have either .NET Core, ASP.NET Core, which I've showed you in the previous video, and you also have the ASP.NET Web Application .NET Framework. So we're going to go with a traditional .NET Framework for this example. And we're going to give it a name. And let's call it, you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to say MVC. For Entity Framework Web Application. Okay, and we're gonna click on OK, and just give it a few seconds to create your application framework. Okay, and when we come to this dialog, so here we're gonna select MVC. We're using MVC specifically here, and you're going to click on Change Authentication and Individual User Accounts, because we want to have a login. We want users to be able to register and log in. Click on OK there, OK again, and give Visual Studio some time. Okay, so when it's done opening up your project, first thing we're going to do is to go to View, Solution Explorer. It doesn't always hide the Solution Explorer by default, but it does sometimes. And the first thing we want to do is to go to the Package Manager console here at the bottom. If you don't see it here at the bottom, you can click on View menu and see if you can find it here. Look for the Package Manager console, other Windows. Okay, there we go, Package Manager console. Click there, and we're going to install the Entity Framework. And what you do is you type in install-package Entity Framework, and that should install basically the newest, latest version of Entity Framework. Let's see what happens if we do that. It's going to take a while to basically see if you have the latest version or if it should download it. And you can see it's trying to get the Entity Framework version 6.2.0. And this might take a while. Okay, so if you have any problems installing or downloading the Entity Framework through the Package Manager console, for instance here with mine it gives me a message, I must restart Visual Studio. So let's just click on Restart, because it has encountered a problem, and this is quite common. This can happen, so let's just do that. And wait for it to restart. Okay, great. So Visual Studio has restarted. So let's see what happened here. Now, if you want to check if it actually installed, you can click on in your Solution Explorer, go to packages.config and double click on this file, and this will show you what what exactly is installed in your solution at the moment. And we want to look out for Entity Framework. So you see here there's an Entity Framework version 6.2.0 and a Target Framework Net 461. Now that means it's installed for the .NET framework. So that means, okay, it's basically installed successfully. And if you want to double check it, you can go to Package Manager's console again, and you can try to run that command, install package entity framework, and see what it says. And it's supposed to say now it's already installed, or it already exists. Okay, so that's great. Now, next what we want to do is we want to go and add your entity framework data model. Okay, so we're gonna right click on our project here at the top, and you're gonna say go to the add item here, and we're gonna say new item. It might already be in the list here, you will see, but if you've already accessed that menu item, it should be here in the list. You see ADO.NET entity data model. Okay, but if it isn't there, you can click on new item, and you can basically just browse for it. So you want to go to make sure you're in the Visual C# section, data, and click on ADO.NET entity data model. Now this is part of the, although it says ADO.NET, it's part of the entity framework. So let's give it a name. Let's call it employees model. Click on add. And now this is basically assuming you have an existing database. So what I have is an existing database. If you go here in SQL Server, in SQL Server Management Studio. So I've got a employees table, and so it basically assumes you have a table called employees, and it's got an employee ID, first name, last name, and city. And you can give it you can make it any kind of table you want, just for testing purposes, or for the purposes of this tutorial. I've got an employees table, and we're just going to use one table. So you can have any kind of table with a few columns and add some data to that table. We're going to see how to actually pull that data, that information from your database into your .NET application, into your MVC web application, and then display the data, add functionality to create new records, to edit and delete. Okay, so let's go back to Visual Studio. You're going to select here on in the Entity Data Model wizard, you're going to select EF Designer from Database. That is the option you're going to select, and that assumes you have obviously an existing database that you want to model this on. And you're going to click on New Connection, and this is going to establish a connection to your SQL Server. And you can click on the drop down, and it should pick up local or network servers. Okay, so I'm going to just basically select my local server. Again, it should load the databases. Okay, here's a list of my databases. Employees, so I'm going to check here. Test connection, succeeded. Okay. Okay, and this should establish a new connection to your database. And down below here, you can select, you can give it a name. By default, it should give you the name of the database. So it's called Employee Entities. Click on, make sure this is checked. Save connection settings in you've got config. So this will save the connection string which you see here. It's a connection string to your database. Click on next. And here it will retrieve all the objects within that database. And you're going to expand the tables tree, and then select your table that you want to display, employees in our case. You can give it the model namespace, or leave it at the default. Click on finish, and this should then pull in a data model based on your database objects. It should pull and create a data model for you. Automatically generate your objects. And you're going to see in a moment what that looks like. Yeah, Visual Studio likes to take its time doing these things. So let's just see what it does. Okay, great. So it's created a data model here and a diagram. It's got the employee table here. This is a representation of the table in your database. And let's go to Solution Explorer. And you'll see what happened here was that it's created a employees model.edmx file. And this is your data model, your diagram. And if you expand it, you can go to employees model.context.cs. And this is the interesting part. So this is auto-generated. Here it's in the constructor of the employees entities class. It puts in the name, a name there. Name equals employees entities. And this corresponds to, if you go to your web.config file in your Solution Explorer, it will basically correspond to a name for a connection string, just a connection string to your database. So that's important. That auto generates for you. You shouldn't have to worry about that. Let's close that again. And also what it does is, so it will have, depending on the amount of tables that you connected to, in our case we only have employees, it will have a public virtual function here, or property get and set. And you'll see here it has dbset and it has a type called employee. And if you right click on that and select go to definition or press F12 on your keyboard, it'll take you to this automatically generated code as well, the employee class. And we'll have employee ID, first name, last name, city. We'll have basically all the columns in your table will be get set properties. Okay, so right there it has generated for us automatically basically our a representation of our database tables or objects. Okay, so what we're going to do from there is we're going to do go to our controllers folder, and by default you should have an account controller, home controller, and manage controller. So if you go to the home controller, we're going to basically use this, and it will have action results here for index. But this will basically turn when the index view loads, it'll run this piece of code here for your index. Okay, this is for your home page. Then it has an about action result as well as a contact action result. And this is for the various pages in your application. Now, these are all defaults, and we're going to just work with the defaults for now. It's going to be the quickest and the easiest. As you can see, you have the controllers as well. You've got an account controller. Now, this is for the authentication, the user logins. We're not going to look at that for now. So let's see something. So we're going to run the application first. So click there on the run button, and it should fire up in your default web browser, which in my case is Google Chrome. So it's going to basically build or compile the code in your application, and it's going to open up your browser and run the application in the browser. Let's just wait for that to come up. Okay, so it's opening the application up in our browser, and I want you to particularly pay attention to here down below in the corner. If you click on your taskbar, you see here one of the tasks running here is IIS Express. See this little light blue icon here. If you right click on it, it'll show you the sites that are currently running in in your IIS Express, which comes with Visual Studio, which is just a mini version of IIS or Internet Information Services. And we'll show you that on your local host on port 51329 or whatever the port on your side is, it's running at the moment. Okay, so that shows your current sites in IIS Express. Okay, so it's basically come up, the application is running. You see here you have a home menu, you have an about item and contact. And this is all auto-generated. So we're going to play around with these. So you see at the moment there's no authorization or authentication. And what we want to do is to basically make it that the user cannot type in anything in the URL, like say about, go to the about page and just go there. We want to basically make it authorized, add some authorization, which means the user has to physically log in before you can access certain in your application. At the moment you can just go basically anywhere you want without any authentication. So what we're going to do is stop the application. Okay, and basically so we want, for the about section in your app, we want to add authorization. Okay, so we want to restrict the user. So an unauthorized user cannot access your about page as well as your contact. Okay, so you add the authorized attribute here at the top of the action result. And now when we run it again, you're gonna see the difference that makes. And this is just to show you how really easy it is, how easy an MVC app makes these kinds of things, which in the past I had to do a lot of coding to kind of achieve this. Like in the older ASPX, ASP.NET web forms, we have to physically have to write a bit of code to restrict the user to not to be able to access certain parts of the application unauthorized. So this is making it so much easier these days, just by adding that authorize tag or attribute. Okay, so now let's for instance click on about now. And what happens? It takes us to a login page. If you click on contact, same thing happens. Okay, you can see the URL changes there. It's puts in a return URL, which means it's going to return to wherever you want it to go after you've logged in. So let's click on register. We want to register a user here. Just put in an email address here. It can be a real email address or a fake one. Let's put here bob@gmail.com and put in the password and confirm the password. Click on register. And so now it's supposed to log us in, and it should return us to the page we wanted to access. Okay, great. So we've registered a new user, and Google might prompt you to remember your username and password, and let's say save. So now you can see you can actually go to the pages again. Okay, if you click on log off, it should restrict you. It should prompt you to log in again. So let's log in, and there we go. So that's the authorization for our application. It's easy as that. It should say here at the top also hello and whatever the account name is, or the email that you registered here. Okay. Now, so in case you wondered what happens to the with the authorization, where the application actually stores
the user login details. So you can go to your project in Solution Explorer and make sure it's selected, and then click on the collapse all. On the show all files icon over here. If you click it, then it's going to basically show you everything in your project. That some of the folders and files it will hide by default. So you just click on it to toggle show all files, and then you go to the app data folder. You expand it, and you will see it actually created a local SQL Server database, a .mdf file, and this is actually where it stores your data. Your user logins. Um, let's see if we can actually have a look at what that database looks like. If we go to the SQL Server Object Explorer, we should be able to connect to this local MDF database. Let's see if we can add a SQL Server. Click on that icon. And it should notice that we have a local SQL Server in our solution. And here we go. So it's picking up this local DB, as you can see over here. Just cancel out of this dialog box. You can just click on it and expand. It will show you databases, and it will show you on this machine actually all the local databases available. So this one now, for instance, is this one here in the middle. This is the actual local database. Do the tables. It shows you the whole database, all of the database objects actually. So this is just for interest sake. We don't have to touch anything here. You will see, for instance, there's an dbo.aspnet users table, and this is where it will store the user logins. If you right click and go view data, it should show us the user data that it stores. So this is basically what comes built in with your MVC web application in terms of the authorization and security. You can see it's this one entry. So for user and passwords, it's even hashed them, so they are encrypted. So it's quite safe. Okay, so that was just for interest sake to see how it actually handles the registration of users and where it stores this data locally.
So that covers the authorized. So now the next what we're going to do is to actually to pull in information from our database, and we're going to put in some code into our controller, and specifically in the index view here. And this, as I said, fires basically when the application starts up, your default home page, and we're gonna access some employee details from our database, and we're gonna just display it on a grid on the screen. Okay. Okay, so basically the next step is we're going to go to controllers, our controllers folder, and you're going to right click here, and you're going to go to add, and you're going to select new scaffolded item. This is going to auto-generate a lot of code for you, which is a great help. You're going to choose here the MVC controller with views using Entity Framework. Okay, this is just to save us some time having to type it out ourselves. So you're going to click on Add. Okay, so now here you're going to select, you have, it says model class, and model class you're going to select basically the model that is auto-generated, which is the employee. Remember, it auto-generated an employee class, which is based on your employee table in your database. Let's just make sure that we select the right one. Okay, so select employee, and in brackets will be the name of your application. Okay, and data context class. Here you're going to select basically employees entities. Okay, and we're going to say, we're going to tick here where it should create views, generate views. Views the page, the CSHTML page that it's going to create for you. So you can keep it on all the default selections there. And you can put in a name here for the controller. Let's leave it as the default employees for now. And click on add. And now it's going to scaffold or basically create a framework for you, auto-generating a lot of code. And we're going to go through that and see what that code, basically what it means. So Visual Studio might take a while to generate this code for you. Okay, so now basically it's gone and added employees controller, and a lot of default code has already been done now. So as you will notice here in the action, the index action, which is fires up when the page loads up, it will return view db.employees.toList, which means it's going to create a list. It's going to return a list of employees types, data types, which is employees in your table.
Okay, so the scaffolding is created for us not only the index view here, but also the rest of it, like such as the details. We pass in an ID to view the specific details of a employee, and you'll see coding is using the db.employee.find on the data db context class there, and it will find the specific and return that specific employee. Okay, then we also have a create one, which returns a view or the page where you will create or add a new employee, and then of course it has the HTTP post on the create action result, which will actually post or pass in that employee as a parameter and add it to the database, persisting the changes through .save changes. And then we have the action result edit here, also passing in a specific ID of an employee that you want to edit, and once again it's using the .find method there. And then it also has the edit action result edit, and that's for editing or modifying a specific employee. And to use it has to set the state property to modify it in that instance where it's modifying a record. And then we have delete, passing in an ID so that it can go find the specific employee that we want to delete. And lastly, we have the delete action result delete confirmed, where we confirm that the user does want to delete that specific employee before we actually call the remove to remove that employee from the database and persisting the changes via saved changes. Okay, and then the scaffolding also created views or CHTML pages for each of those actions. For the create one, there is it created the code for displaying the create screen when creating an employee. Same with the delete one, details for viewing a specific employee, and you will see it will display the city, the last name, the first name, all of those columns on the screen. And then same with the edit one, for editing a specific employee, it's created all of that markup language there for us. This one, the index is for viewing all of the employees at once, and it will actually, you'll see that it has a for each loop it will loop through all of those records in your table, and will display the first name, last name, and the city. And then you can see here once again we have some the action buttons on that grid, which will create a edit details and a delete link button to perform these various actions. So that is all that comes standard by default. It is auto created, auto generated by this scaffolding that we added, the scaffolding controller that we added here for employees.
Okay, so what we want to go next is now we want to add a basically a menu item to our application. So you're gonna scroll down and go to your views folder, expand it, and then go to shared and layout.cshtml. Now layout is shared. It's like a master page, and this is for instance where you're going to see the menu in your application startup page. So we currently have home, about, and contact. So we're just going to add another one. Let's copy just the one line there and paste it in. Again, we're going to say employees, so let's call it, say, staff, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and you will see here that the next argument here we need to pass is the action name of the action. In this case, it's called index, and then the name of the controller, and this is our employees controller, so we're going to type the employees. Okay, so this just gives it the route to where it's supposed to go when you click on it. So let's save that, and we're going to now run the application again, and you'll see that you have a new menu to click on, which is going to hopefully take us to the employees screen application. Okay, so it's firing up our browser once again, and it's gonna take us to our home page again, and let's see if it's then added that new menu item that we just added in the layout page, the shared layout. Okay, right. So now here at the top you will see home, about, contact, and staff. Okay, so at the moment we are not logged in. Let's just test if our authorization is still working. Okay, yes, it takes us to the login page. Okay, if we click on staff, you'll see that it will take you straight there, which is basically not actually what we want. We want this also to be to only show it to users that are logged in. But okay, let's leave that for a bit later. So now you'll see here it actually gets the data from your database, and it shows it puts it into a grid, and these are basically all the records in your employees table. Okay, so now the next step will obviously be to go into the edit, adding new records and deleting. So let's just first of all close the application, add the authorization for the staff menu, because we want to hide that there is sensitive information in our application. We don't want anyone just to be able to click on it without having logged on. So let's go back to our controller. Okay, so we go to the employees controller, and we're going to add that attribute again, authorize, and that's going to be able, this is basically going to force the user to log in if he wants to click on that menu item. Let's see if that works. Okay, so let's go to, we're here at the login screen. So let's log in first. Okay, if you log in, then we can go to the staff menu, and there you go. So now it's authorized. Let's just log off again. Click on staff, and you'll see go straight to the login page, and you click on login. So okay, so actually now with that scaffolding which we've added through the Visual Studio IDE, you'll see that it's actually created as edit, delete, details and delete, as well as a create new link button. So you can go to any of these records now and click on, say, edit, and you can actually edit this data. So let's say, for instance, here we change the city to Bangkok, click on save, and you'll see that it's actually updated the record there. So let's see if we want to delete. Okay, we want to delete this one. Okay, are you sure you want to delete this? Click on delete, and there we go. One record has been deleted, which is awesome. We want to create a new one. Click on create new, and put in here anything you want for test user. Let's put in here what city? Mexico City. Okay, create. And there we go. So basically, guys, this is our CRUD application at MVC. As you see, it's very easy. You have user authentication, you have creating, update, editing, and deleting, and this is how easy it is in an MVC web application. Just using that that item which I showed you, adding a scaffolding. Okay, it's not available. Let's just stop the code for now. It's as easy as that. So you go on, click add on the controller, new scaffolded item, and you select that controller with views using Entity Framework, and it basically creates all that code for you. So this is a very basic entry-level beginner kind of version for MVC web application. And that's it. In a follow-up video, I will show you again the ASP.NET Core, which is part of the core framework, the new .NET Core. I'm going to show you how to do create, read, update, and delete. How to do it in the new ASP.NET Core. So stay tuned for that, and please subscribe to my channel to see to not miss out on new videos like that.
And click on the like button if you like this video, and do subscribe to the channel. It really means a lot to me, and thanks again for watching, guys. Until the next video. Cheers.